You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to the main news with Banda Tandiwe. The headlines. Police officer complains of discrimination from her place of work. PF women disappointed with Mwetwa's refusal to apologize to VIP over shallow statement. Governance levels said to be at their lowest under PF, says MLC and NDC. In international news, Nelson Mandela's daughter, Zinzi, dies at 59. And in sports, Faz on course for league resumption. Do join me with the details after this break.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with our news. Cross-Border Traders Association of Zambia chairperson Jacob Makambwe has called on government to clearly define beneficiaries of the 10 million kwacha stimulus package that was released to caution businesses as a result of the COVID-19 impact. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Makambwe says none of his members have benefited from the fund, saying that the procedure of obtaining it is too cumbersome. He explains that the Ministry of Finance should have divided the money per sector for proper implementation. Meanwhile, cross-border traders at Comesa Market say the coronavirus pandemic has badly affected their business. Here's a report.
Zambia, like many other developing economies, has problems of high unemployment levels, leading to many opting for small businesses to survive. But with the outbreak of the COVID-19, a lot of people who depend on businesses for their livelihoods had their lives disrupted, especially those that import goods for resale from countries like South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania. Traders at Comesa Market have told Camnet TV that government should come up with alternative ways of ensuring that stock is ordered from these countries. They are also calling on government to educate them on how best they can access the stimulus fund that was aimed at helping people absorb the shocks of the COVID-19.
We don't manufacture them like from within the country. We import from other countries. So like the closing of the borders, it has affected each and every businessman or woman who's there, because we cannot import. We are really asking for the government to do something about opening the borders. Yeah, like some other transport working.
I'm a cross-border trader. Under the COVID-19, things have become a little bit difficult for us because the borders, as you know, were crossed and business has been so challenging. We are delighted that the government has removed about 10 billion to help the youths and the businessmen the past 2 months. It was a challenge in the sense that even paying the rentals here.
As you can see right now, all the borders are closed. For us to find these goods, it's very difficult. So we are asking from the government, maybe they can find the way to open the border or to use another strategy. I don't know the strategy which they can use during this COVID-19 so that we can find the goods. I'm a single parent. I've got 7 children. I don't have a husband. My children, they're supposed to go to school. This is the only business which I have. So it's very difficult for us. It's affect us a lot.
And Cross-Border Association chairperson Jacob Makambwe says while the effects of the COVID-19 are grave, it has come as a realization for the local manufacturers to start producing some goods that the country imports. Mr. Makambwe also says that government should clearly state who the beneficiaries of the stimulus package are and how they can access it.
Yeah, when you talk about the impact of COVID-19 on several businesses, this has actually been attributed to so many, loss of business. And again, when you talk about specifically cross-border traders are not trading at the moment to go outside Zambia, apart from Tanzania, which is very open. So when you talk about the impact, especially those that are trading with South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and partly even those that are trading with Zimbabwe, because these particular countries have not released or have not actually opened up in terms of trying to do business and allowing people to cross the borders. This has actually continued to provide a little bit more of a restrictive way of actually conducting business, especially for cross-border trade.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The ruling Patriotic Front, PF, has continued to mourn the decision taken by Choma Central Member of Parliament, Cornelius, apologized to Vice President Inonge Wina in Parliament on Friday. Speaker of the National Assembly asked Mr. Mweta to apologize to the Vice President for describing her statement on the gassing incidents in the country as being shallow and shameful. But the PF women in Lusaka say if Mr. Mweta refuses to apologize, they will be left with no option but to petition the Speaker of the National Assembly to take action against him. Details in the following report.
To management yesterday that I can't apologize for no wrongdoing.
So you have refused?
I am not apologizing.
Take a seat.
Mr. Mwetwa, which home are you coming from? How were you brought up?
How were you brought up? Patriotic Front Women's League have posed this question to Choma Central Member of Parliament Cornelius Mwetwa for using disrespectful language to the Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, Inonge Wina, by calling her shallow and shameful. Last week, the Member of Parliament refused to apologize to the Vice President in Parliament and went ahead to call for a press briefing where he made it clear he was not going to apologize for saying the truth.
Mr. Speaker, asking me to apologize is like asking me to stop breathing. I made it abundantly clear to your committee
Honorable member, take a seat. Take a seat.
And now, the Patriotic Front women in Lusaka province say this act will discourage women from participating in politics in Zambia. Vice Chair Lady of the province, Chilandwe Chitangala, has asked the Member of Parliament to apologize to her honor, the Vice President, or else they shall ask for the Speaker of the National Assembly to look into this matter, as women feel aggrieved at the disrespect which was shown to Inonge Wina.
We feel aggrieved as women of not only the Patriotic Front, but of Zambia. You know, we are now at a time that we are fighting for equality, gender equality in our politics and decision-making positions. And this is when men, we think men that can support us, are now rebuking and disrespecting women and disrespecting a woman who's supposed to be a mother of a nation, Madam Inonge Woman, a woman who is so graceful, a woman who's carried herself so well, a woman who has inspired us to get into politics for some of us. This is a woman that was disrespected by Cornelius Mwetwa, who is a Member of Parliament for Choma. So for us as women, we feel so aggrieved. So we are here now asking the Speaker of the National Assembly to also go further and take up this case. It must not end here.
However, Cornelius Mwetwa made it clear, he said that to her because she is a leader and not a woman, she should therefore learn to embrace criticism. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
In our other stories, the Zambian National Farmers Union has urged government through the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure an early distribution of farming inputs when there's still ample time. ZNFU Public Relations Manager Kelvin Kalei says his union has observed a continued trend of farmers being supplied with farming inputs during the planting season. Mr. Kalei says an early distribution of farming inputs guarantees the nation of food security. Let's get the details in this report.
Only a few months away from the rainy season, and farmers across the country have not yet received farming inputs. According to an observation by the Zambia National Farmers Union, there has been a bad trend in the distribution process of the inputs. ZNFU Public Relations Manager Calvin Kalei has charged that of late government and other private sectors have only been distributing the inputs towards the conclusion of the farming season.
Seen in the past a trend where agricultural inputs are only distributed sometime December. There was a time when inputs were actually distributed sometime in January and towards February. So those have been very bad trends. But lately we've seen a little shift, positive shift, and we've seen inputs being distributed flagged off early. We saw last year, for instance, the flagging off being done as early as, if my memory serves me right, as early as September.
Mr. Kalei has since charged that if government expected a good yield in the crop production, then it should have as well prioritized distributing the inputs on time. He also says he is delighted and thankful to know that some private sectors have begun leading the way, and so should government consider the trend.
We should first of all thank the private sector for having started distributing inputs early. Companies like Neria's Investments, I don't want to pitch, but companies like Neria's Investments, companies like Nyimba, they've already started distributing these inputs. And the private sector has done very, very well. This is only July, but already they've strategically put their inputs around strategic farming areas, and that's a positive thing. This is what we should be seeing year in, year out. Now, the private sector has led the way. Let the government also come in and follow the trend. We want to see farmers receive inputs on time so that they can plan the hectareage to be planted, so that they can plan the kind of crop they want to do, so that they can plan around their agriculture business. That's what is going to grow Zambian agriculture.
Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Namwinga Mwinga.
A woman chief inspector from the Zambia Police Service stationed at force headquarters has complained of continued victimization from the service after suffering from a mental illness. The officer, whose names have been withheld, accuses the police top command of frustrating her to a point that she wishes to leave the service. She further explains that her condition started in 2015 after losing her husband and son in 2009 and 2015 respectively. More details in this report.
Workplaces normally tend to turn into people's second homes as they spend most of their time there. It is for this reason that when one is in any sort of help, it should come from such places. But a woman chief inspector from the Zambia Police Service complains bitterly of the ill treatment she says she is receiving from the Zambia Police Service after suffering from a mental illness called bipolar mood disorder, a psychiatric condition which triggers mood swings. The woman chief inspector's name withheld tells Camnet TV News in an interview off camera that her condition started after losing her husband in 2009 and her son in 2013. In 2015, the woman chief inspector's condition worsened, which saw her get admitted at Chinama Hospital in June 2015. She explains that after being discharged from hospital and reported back for work, problems then started. She narrates that her fellow workers deserted her, while others left the shared office, claiming it was smelling with rat droppings. She also claims that the police service sidelined her from all workshops, travels and planning meetings, leaving her all alone in the corner. Worse still, she says her superiors would entrust her office keys with the office orderly and not her, saying all this ill treatment were eating her up. In 2015, the Zambia Police Service wrote to Chinama Hospital requesting for her medical report, which was only revealed to them in 2019 as the hospital was still assessing her mental status. The medical report by the treating hospital showed that the woman chief inspector was in good medical condition to resume work, but the police says as per procedure, the woman chief inspector had to appear before a medical board, as explained by Deputy Commissioner of Police Dr. George Msipu Piri, who also explains that there are others who are also on the waiting list.
Nothing big like mistreatment. Because what I know is that she requested for transfer to a unit where she can manage to work. And as per usual, as per protocol, her transfer request was sent to the High Command seeking approval. And the command suggested that let her be subjected to medical board before they can make a decision. And that is the situation.
So
now, the medical board has taken long. That's how she eventually, I think, engaged the lawyer saying she has been on leave for too long.
Dr. Piri is said to be the immediate supervisor to the woman in question, as they both work at the Zambia Police HIV and AIDS Directorate.
We had no problem with her. I think even when this whole condition started, we managed to help her in whichever possible way, and we understood her much better than anyone else. Because if it was time to complain, that would have been the time to complain actually, when she used to be violent and even everyone was scared. But we managed to accommodate her and then even incorporated her in the program. But with her, she said, they were leaving her from workshops, they were leaving her from this, we were doing all sorts of things, which is not true. Because even what is so much, we have all the documents. I think you have received them now.
The woman chief inspector says she is tired of the ill treatment from her workplace, and all what she wants is to leave the police. In the meantime, she has even packed all her belongings in readiness to depart the institutional house. The woman chief inspector has also already raised this issue with her lawyers from C.L. Mundi and Company, who have since taken up the matter with the Zambia Police Top Command. The woman chief inspector is currently on leave pending the medical board. Kalan Muchima reporting for Camnet News in Osaka.
You're still watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We do take our second set of commercials. Do stay with us as we return with more news stories.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant save nations to develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The Media Liaison Committee, MLC, says Zambia has seen the worst governance levels under the ruling Patriotic Front, PF. Committee Chairperson Enoch Ngoma explains that freedoms of expression and movement have drastically shrunk under the PF compared to other governments. Mr. Ngoma notes that there is a systematic scheme by the governing party and its cadres to instill fear in the public, as witnessed by the continued attacks on media institutions at will and with impunity. He further notes with concern the lack of action taken by the PF cadres storming radio stations hosting the opposition. Mr. Ngoma says even in the view of COVID-19, people's rights to freedom of expression should not be infringed upon. Last Friday, PF cadres attacked Mafken radio station in Mufulira for hosting UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema. Let's get the details in this report.
The Media Liaison Committee has observed with deep worry and concern that there is a systematic scheme by the ruling Patriotic Front, its leadership that is, and their cadres to attack media institutions at will and with impunity. It is very clear that this is a deliberate strategy by the PF and its leadership to silence the media using violence and intimidation. We come to this conclusion because if it were not their strategy, then the PF would have definitely controlled their thugs who are masquerading as cadres. Once again, PF cadres, just a few days ago, attacked Mafken FM in Mvulira on the Copper Belt. The Media Liaison Committee condemns this attack and notes that as a nation, we have now even lost control, or rather we've lost count as to how many radio and TV stations have been attacked by the PF cadres since the PF came to power. This is the worst governance level our country is currently experiencing. The PF are fully aware that even in this COVID-19 problem, citizens should continue to engage on national issues. And this is mostly being done virtually. So why should PF cadres dictate radio or TV programs and who to host by radio stations and TV stations?
Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress NDC party, through its Copperbelt provincial chairman George Sichula, says the country is on autopilot as it lacks visionary leaders. Mr. Sichula has told Camnet TV that those in leadership have failed to govern the country, hence the need for them to graciously allow others to lead. He says Zambians are suffering today not because there is no money in the country, but because those in leadership have no idea of how to generate wealth for its citizens. And in other news, Lusaka Province PF Media Coordinator Edwin Lifwekelo has advised the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to maintain the proposed 100,000 kwacha being nomination fees for an aspiring presidential candidate. Mr. Lifwekelo says 100,000 kwacha is not too much an amount for anyone aspiring for such a high office to raise. According to him, the amount is reasonable and affordable. He adds that serious political parties should be able to raise the money from now to August 2021. Meanwhile, the electoral body is on Monday expected to review the proposed figures. Let's get the details in this report.
The 100,000 has come about for a fact that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be doing quite a lot in terms of ensuring that all the candidates, presidential candidates who will be standing in this election, all their posters, materials and everything will be done by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. If anything, I think that they have envisaged that the amount should come to about 300,000. So 100,000 is within the range. And I think that also it's important that for those serious political parties with serious contenders that want to contest elections, if you're worth your salt, surely speaking, the political party should be able to manage to pay 100,000 kwacha. And based on those assumptions, yes, I'm aware that not all political parties are strong in terms of the financial base. And I know that in order to promote the democracy to thrive, within the political parties, it's important that we allow as many political parties to participate in these elections. So there will still be people that feel that the 100,000 is too much. Yeah, but it's serious. If you are providing leadership, you want to stand as the president, a serious political party should be able to manage 100,000 kwacha. And on that basis, I think that the 100,000 kwacha is reasonable based on the interrogation, based on the information that we have received from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And by the way, we are also aware that even as we draw near to these elections, members of political parties, in particular those that observe these elections, that support candidates, who have to undertake trips to where these ballot papers are being done, and that costs money.
The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, is concerned with media statements that allege that the COVID-19 bond has been channeled to other needy areas. JCTR Programs Manager Innocent Ndashe says it makes sad reading to hear that the bond meant for COVID-19 related programs is now being channeled towards the road sector. More in the following report.
The impact of COVID-19 on the country's economy cannot be underestimated. Many poor Zambians have made several adjustments on meals, including lifestyles. However, government reports that some COVID-19 funds bond to finance roadworks, a move which has not been received well by some citizens, including organizations such as the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR. JCTR Faith and Justice Programs Manager Innocent Ndashe says the move on what he has termed as misappropriation of funds makes a sad reading, knowing that there are many poor Zambians who cannot afford the COVID-19 equipments to protect themselves.
Unfortunate to hear that. I think there are stories that possibly people are not benefiting from that funding, and mostly I think this has been attributed to government diverting it to other projects, other programs that they're implementing. I think that is unfortunate. It's unfortunate and it shouldn't be. It's uncalled for. I think what we would expect from government at this stage is to ensure that whatever funding that is there is prudently utilized, realizing that I think we see that most of the people actually need support at this particular point in time, looking at the negative impact of COVID-19. What you'd expect for a government that is meant to save the interest of the people.
Mr. Ndashe says it would be prudent if government considered channeling the funds to serve the purpose for which they were contributed, such as enhancing funding social protection programs as target groups.
And what would have expected and what would expect is that government would then prudently, for example, invest that funding into, for example, enhancing the social protection programs, targeting maybe the current target group that they have, but more importantly also to expand it to the many citizens that have been thrown into poverty. We also recognize, I think, that probably the issue of accountability on the part of our government is something of concern, and I think that will lead to even cooperating partners, people that would want to support the country to deal with the current challenges to shy away. So moving ahead really is I think we just call upon government to ensure that they are more prudent, they are more accountable. I mean, we've been I think emphasizing that possibly people have to adhere, for example, to measures such as wearing face mask and the like. But if say we are unable to help the poor who cannot afford such.
Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Namwenga Mwenga.
You're still watching the Camnet TV main news with Banda Tandi, where we do take our last set of commercials and return with our international and sports news. Do stay with us.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and F&B. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099, +260 962 444 726, or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We do continue with our news. President Edgar Lungu has made changes at permanent secretary level. President Lungu has transferred Luapula Province Permanent Secretary Felix Piri to the Ministry of Defense. The head of state has also transferred Ministry of Defense Permanent Secretary Stadi Mwale to Cabinet Office to be in charge of the Remuneration Division in the same capacity. Remuneration Division Permanent Secretary at Cabinet Office Kashel Mwenya has since been moved to the Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure Development in the same capacity. And Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure Development Permanent Secretary Charles Mushota has been transferred to Luapula Province. The head of state has since wished the permanent secretaries well in their new portfolios. And in our international news, Zinzi Mandela, the youngest daughter of South Africa's first black president Nelson Mandela, and anti-apartheid activist Winnie Madikizela Mandela, has died at the age of 59. She died in Johannesburg Hospital in the early hours of Monday morning, public broadcaster SABC has said. She was an activist in her own right and was serving as ambassador to Denmark at the time of her demise. The cause of her death was not immediately revealed. Zinzi Mandela was Nelson Mandela's sixth child and his second, with Winnie Madikizela Mandela his second wife. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in a statement, said Zinzi Mandela had, during her years of struggle, brought home the inhumanity of the apartheid system and the unshakable resolve of the fight for freedom. Ms. Mandela had been posted to Denmark in 2015 and has been designated to become South Africa's head of mission in Monrovia in Liberia. And in our sports news, the Football Association of Zambia, FAZ, has reaffirmed its position that the resumption of the Super League and National Division 1 will be under closed doors. FAZ General Secretary Adrian Kashala says the football governing body fully understands the desire by fans to watch the matches from the stadia, but is obliged to abide by the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Sport. Kashala says only people that are part of the match squad, stadium staff, security personnel, and media are expected to be at the stadia. Kashala says media personnel will be expected to produce FAZ-certified accreditation cards before being allowed in the hosting venues. The FAZ League resumes this week with double headers on Saturday and Sunday at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium. The Super League games return after a 5-month break following the outbreak of the coronavirus. This is according to a statement made available to Camnet TV by FAZ Communications Manager Sydney Mungala. That sports news story brings us to the end of the main news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Police officer complains of discrimination from her place of work. PF women disappointed with Mwetwa's refusal to apologize to VIP over shallow statement. Governance levels said to be at their lowest under PF, says MLC and NDC. And international news, Nelson Mandela's daughter, Zenzi, dies at 59. And in our sports news, FAR's on course for league resumption. Our Camnet word verse of the day is coming from the book of Lamentations 3:22-23, and it reads, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Greatness is your faithfulness." Thank you so much for joining me on the Camnet TV main news. Remember to mask up and maintain social distancing. My name is Banda Tandiwe. Pleasant viewing.